Hey everybody, Sean here. We're going to be taking a look at the Cyclops Marine load sensors. So there are two types. You have the Smart Tune and the Smart Link. The Smart Tune replaces a turnbuckle, so it's used for measuring the load on shrouds or forestay. It comes in a few sizes, so you have the smallest being 5/16, which would be for a J70. All the way up to a 5/8, which would be a much bigger boat. So there's 7/16, half-inch, 3/4, and then 5/8, the biggest. The Smart Links also come in a few sizes. So you have the Nano being the smallest. Then you have a 2-ton, a 5-ton, and a 10-ton. So we actually have one of the new Smart Link Nanos here that we're going to open up in a second. But first, basically there's two ways that you can read information off of these. The first is using a smartphone through the Smart Fittings app from Cyclops. And the other way is through a NEMA 2000 gateway. So if any instrument system that will speak to NEMA 2000 will be able to take this information and display it. So we have a V&G system here, and basically it's currently hooked up to this and this, so our mainstream and forestay loads, and we'll look at how those display in a second, but let us first go over how to set these things up. So in the box here we've got some instructions, the unit, and a couple batteries. To put the battery in, we just take a flathead screwdriver, open it up, and pop that right in. And close it back up. So you'll see underneath the battery compartment there is a power button. In the instructions it has a little chart, but the number of button presses corresponds to how long the unit will turn on for. So one button press is 30 seconds, all the way up to continuous operation, which would be 5. So we're gonna turn it on for 20 minutes, which would be 2 presses. So I'm gonna hit it twice, and now you're gonna see it blink 2 times, indicating that it's gonna stay on for 20 minutes. Once we have the unit on, we're gonna pair it up to our tablet here. So we're gonna open the Smart Fittings app. So the screen that you get to lists all of your different sensors. So we're gonna add a new one. We can name it whatever we want. And then down here, the sensor keys. So that's actually what we're gonna use to pair the device to the iPad. So on the box here, we see serial number and then data key. So the data key is what we're looking for. There is a dash in it. You have to enter that dash when you're putting it in. Otherwise, it will not accept it. So FG F0 D dash F6 W4 G. So you'll see there's a little red X there. If I enter this correctly, it will turn to a green check. And then you'll see the battery level and the Wi-Fi connection pop up if you've entered it correctly. So now that I have it entered it as one of my sensors, if I move over to loads, we'll see Sail22 sensor. If it is black, that means that it is connected to it and it is receiving data. So if we were to turn this unit off, and the way to do that is to just press the button one time, and it doesn't turn off immediately, but within 30 seconds it'll shut itself off. So back to the sensor page here. So when we select a sensor, we have a couple of different settings we can change. So by default, it'll give us kilograms of force. We could also change it to tons or pounds of force. Display detail is kind of an interesting setting. So you'll see under the load page, on this sensor we have some numbers in the corner. That would be this display detail. So you can either have statistics, which will give us our minimum, average, and maximum, or we can do averages. We'll see increments of time, so 1, 10, and 30-minute averages. So depending on what you're measuring, what it's being used for, you can set it to what is appropriate. So on our B&G display here, we've got this SmartLink hooked up as our main sheet. So just to show how how this works, as we put pressure on it, we're going to see that number go up and down. So right now it is set to read this in tons. So this purchase system is giving me almost a tenth of a ton of force. We, on the other side of the table, have a smart tune hooked up on a winch. So we're gonna load that up and actually compare those numbers against the loose gauge to show you guys how accurate this is. So let's head on over there. Alright, so we've got our 5/16 smart tune going. Right now it is currently off. So we're going to turn it on. And in the app it went from, so see how the unit we just set up is now gray. That means it's not connected. This one is black, which means it is connected and giving us a reading. So one thing that's very useful, most people have all of their settings based on the loose gauge. So you can actually get a chart that'll convert loose gauge measurements to either kilograms or pounds of tension. So let's look at 13 on a loose gauge should be 300 pounds of tension. So we're gonna crank this guy up to 300 and measure it and see what we get. Alright, so right now, right at 300. We're going to put the gauge on there, and I am just a hair above 13, almost right on it. So, yeah, I've been playing around with putting a lot of tension on this and trying different settings, and it's been impressively accurate as far as what the numbers here show compared to what the loose gauge chart is going to say. So as a replacement for having to constantly be, using the gauge to measure your rig, having, these sensors to be able to, at any time look and see exactly where everything is set up is pretty cool. And with the smart links, being able to introduce them into your main sheet or a Vang system, just to be able to consistently, get, instead of having marks, you can actually now adjust things based on the amount of tension and pressure you're putting on, which really is much more accurate way to do it. So yeah, it's a very cool system. We're very excited to keep playing with it. So yeah.